Hi guys. Okay, so welcome to my basement. I'm down here making videos for this week, and Jackson and Theo are upstairs sleeping. But when I was in the classroom today, I was cleaning up some stuff, and I found this. And I realized we never finished. So what I wanted to do was I'm going to record myself reading a chapter at a time because we're almost done. I think we only have 3 more chapters to go. So this is just something that you can put on and listen to. Maybe if you just need some downtime or you need to take a break from doing your schoolwork. So I'm not going to make you watch my face the whole time. So I'm going to sit the phone down and read the chapter, and then you can listen to it whenever you want and find out what happens to the end of our story here with Prince. We are on chapter 21, Poor Timing. Okay? David Patterson sighed as he finished the chapter of the mystery he was reading. He dog-eared the next page, then closed the book, dropping it on the end table with a plop that made his mother jump. "Good night, Mom and Dad," he called. "I'm heading for bed." Mr. Patterson nodded, glancing up from the newspaper. "Good idea, pal," he said. "We've got a long day ahead of us tomorrow. We'll be getting up pretty early." He looked at Christina, who was playing on the rug with her Lincoln log set. "You too, Tiger," he said. "Head for bed. You don't want to be tired and grouchy when we get to Grandma's house." David paused at the foot of the stairs. "How long will it take us to drive there, Dad?" Mr. Patterson shrugged. 10 or 11 hours, he replied. "It's over 600 miles. We'll be there about supper time tomorrow night." David climbed the stairs, and Mrs. Patterson turned to Christina, who was slowly dumping the Lincoln logs into their bucket. "Hurry a bit, sweetheart," she said. "You need to be in bed." The little girl snapped the lid on the bucket, then looked up at her parents as a thought suddenly occurred to her. "How long will we be at Grandma's?" she asked, a worried look troubling her pretty features. "We'll be there for 3 days," her father explained. "We'll travel all day tomorrow and get there tomorrow evening. We'll have Wednesday, Thanksgiving Day, and Friday at Grandma's, then we'll drive back home on Saturday." "What if Prince comes while we're gone?" the little girl said, worry in her voice. "He won't know where we are." Mr. and Mrs. Patterson looked at each other, then back to Christina. "Head for bed, Christina," Dad said finally. "Prince won't come while we're gone." "But, Daddy, he might," the girl argued. "He might come and—" Her father cut her off. "Christina, head for bed and quit worrying about Prince. He won't come while we're at Grandma's." Pouting, Christina turned and headed up the stairs. She undressed, climbed into bed, and fell asleep quickly. That night she dreamed of Prince. Unknown to the Pattersons, their huge dog was now less than 40 miles from home. He had kept a watchful vigil beside the body of the ill-fated Buzzy for most of the day. As the sun was setting, he had finally left her side and had resumed his southward journey. He would travel all night. Mr. Patterson smiled as he glanced at his watch. 10 minutes till 8. The camper was loaded, and in 5 minutes they would be on the highway. If all went well, they would reach Daisy's before 7 o'clock. David opened the back door of the camper and thrust his BB gun inside. "Dad," he asked, "where will we sleep when we get to Grandma's?" "We'll sleep in the camper, son," his father answered, checking his watch again. "We'll just park in Grandma's backyard, between the house and that little barn of hers." Mrs. Patterson appeared on the porch. "Kenneth," she called, "we have a problem. Christina insists that she wants to leave the dog food out for Prince, just in case he comes home while we are gone." The tall man groaned. "Dog food?" he echoed. "We don't even have any." His wife nodded. "That's what I thought, but she has some hidden in the garage, squirreled away out of the bag we gave to the Andersons when we lost Prince." Mr. Patterson scowled and looked again at his watch. "Tell her to get in the truck now. We're hitting the road." Sobbing, Christina squeezed in between her mother and David. Mr. Patterson locked the front door of the house, then hobbled to the truck. He poked his crutches into the space behind the seat, then swung his body in and closed the door. The motor purred to life, and the truck pulled out into the street. "We'll get gas," Mr. Peterson said, then hit the highway. "Granny Odell, here we come, ready or not." He grinned, trying to be cheerful, but Christina let out a mournful sob. Less than a mile away, a huge, tired Labrador trotted wearily across the highway. A horn blared and Tyler squealed as a motorist braked frantically, the skidding car missing the dog by mere inches. Prince hadn't even seen the car. His attention was elsewhere. He was almost home. He would soon be with the people he loved. Mr. Patterson glanced at his daughter as he pulled out of the service station. Seeing tears rolling down her chubby cheeks, he looked over at his wife and shrugged helplessly, giving her one of those "what do you think" looks. She nodded wordlessly. With a sigh, he turned the camper around and headed back for the house. David sat up straight. "Hey, what are we doing?" Mr. Patterson laid a hand on his knee. "Just running back to the house for a minute," he answered. "Christina is afraid that Prince is going to come to the house while we are gone." David snorted his disgust. "We're going to be late getting to Grandma's," he said. Dad pulled the truck into the driveway. "Why don't you two stay here?" he suggested to his wife and son. "Christina and I will just be a minute." He unlocked the garage. Christina scurried in and knelt in front of his workbench, then pulled two small plastic bags from under the bottom shelf. "I've been keeping them here for Prince," she explained, "so he'll have something to eat when he comes home." Mr. Patterson nodded. Of course. He hobbled into the kitchen and returned with a large plastic dish, which he handed to his daughter. "Here, use this." Christina emptied the bags into the dish, then set it on the front porch. "There," she said, satisfied. "Now Prince will have something to eat if he comes home while we are at Grandma's." They climbed back into the camper and Mr. Patterson carefully backed out onto the street. "No more delays," he said as he shifted into gear. "Let's make some miles for Grandma's house." Prince trotted happily around the corner onto Mulberry Street. He was home at last. The long journey was over. The trip had taken him more than 1,000 miles across 4 states, but at last he had made it. He was home. He knew what a joyful welcome awaited him at the Pattersons. As he broke into an eager jog and hurried down the block, he spotted the familiar camper backing out of the driveway. Barking joyfully, he raced to meet it, but the vehicle rolled forward and began to pick up speed. Prince raced toward the camper, barking and whining, but he soon fell behind. The Pattersons were leaving. He had traveled more than 1,000 miles to find them, and now they were leaving him. Dejected, he finally slowed to a stop in the middle of the street, staring after the departing vehicle. And that's the end of our chapter for now. The next chapter is chapter 22, End of the Road. And I'll record that for you to listen to next week. Alright guys, have a good week this week, and work hard, and do your very, very best.